Hello, folks, and welcome to Political Matrix News. Hello, Scott.
Hey, welcome back. Boy, it was interesting couple of weeks we had off there.
Oh, we've had some time. It's been a lot of personal turmoil, and for both of us, I think,
Yeah.
and the whole world. I mean, Elon and Trump are still not talking to each other, I don't think.
Well,
It could be tragic.
grown-up people with strong opinions sometimes disagree, and unfortunately sometimes they do it publicly. You know,
No way.
I don't think that it means what the Democrats would like it to mean. Um,
The Democrats would love Elon to come back to their side with all his money.
yeah. Well, the problem is that here's the thing that with the Democrats, and we'll get into this a little bit more of this in later, but even worse than being Donald Trump, the greatest sin that you can commit is being part of a protected class and not supporting the Democrats. And while Elon wasn't a protected class, he was a former Democrat supporter, and then
Yeah,
he turned his back on them, and that can have uh, fatal effects. Depending on who you are
yeah,
with the Democrat Party.
yeah. Well, what do we got topping this story here today?
Well, you and I were talking earlier about this story about and I want to frame this correctly and say that it is still just an informational report within the government, and there's still a lot of vetting that has to be done. So
I shot
that
their foot.
being said, I will say that I 100% believe when they say that the Chinese Communist Party had a plan to manufacture uh, driver's licenses that you would not be able to distinguish from any state ID. It would look exactly, any person that just looks at it would say, "Oh, yeah, that's good ID."
Exactly.
So the plan, and I believe the plan exists now. Now I don't know that the plan was actually put in place, like put into effect. But I will say that I believe that there was a plan to use their data from TikTok to identify people in various geographic areas that lived near people that they wanted to, that
Votes.
were Chinese supporters that were going to cast votes for Joe Biden.
Right. This
And
is back in
so
2020,
I
correct?
believe the intent was there. Whether or not this plan was ever put into play, I don't know, but but I believe that they had absolutely, had tried the plan, and just, maybe they succeeded, maybe they didn't.
Yeah, because right now I think Senator Chuck Grassley, he has a document from the FBI, everything stating a lot of this information in it. And a lot of this reporting we're getting here is from Fox News at the moment. And so it is pretty much really just hot off the press, really. And so,
Well, Fox News is reporting, and it's my man Cash Patel that's really the one pushing it.
right, exactly.
Uh,
There
yeah,
might be a lot of credibility into it.
well, Cash, I have a lot of faith in Cash. Yeah, frankly, I think I got almost more faith in Cash than I got in Donald Trump, and that's saying a lot. But I mean, he seems to be as straightforward and
Right,
ready to do business as anyone that he seems far more credible to me than anyone that I've ever seen as FBI director.
right. I think he definitely has his act together with all the data and information and all the rearrangement of the offices he has done the last several months. And I think that's proving a lot of. I mean, everybody kept talking about TikTok and the Chinese government, and people just kept turning a blind eye toward it, and I
Oh,
realizing. And
it's just a social media gang. What could possibly happen? It's just a bunch
I
of
mean, I'm
cute
on
little cat
TikTok.
videos.
Exactly. There are a lot of good cat videos. There's a lot of good stuff on TikTok, but the Chinese government is using all the identifications of everybody and creating fake IDs. Because I mean, one thing that there is on TikTok because everybody has their photo on there.
Mhm.
People, I mean, we're on there, and so I mean, we're on TikTok as well. And so, I mean, our photos are on there. And once they get that kind of data in there, I mean, they have very good data mining abilities. And I think it's interesting. And this is all during 2020, the same year we had the COVID issues, everything. I mean, the worst part of COVID, the very beginning of COVID, but we had really no idea on how to handle it. And, I mean, it's an interesting report. And if it's true, damn.
Well, all these people have been just, pushing back and screaming to say that there's no, the Chinese, the Chinese aren't going to do anything. It's, there's no, the Chinese are our good trading partners, and Donald Trump is, whatever. They are not good trading partners. I've had friends that I know that have been doing business in China for decades, and all as far back as the 90s their friends in the Chinese. So, like, you have to have a Chinese partner to do business in
Exactly.
China. Frankly, we ought to require the Chinese to have an American partner when they come to America.
It
Frankly,
should.
but just so they have a sponsor, like a list of countries. If you're on this list, you got to have a sponsor in order to do business here because we don't trust you. Um, honestly, that's not a bad idea. That I'm sitting there saying it out loud. Like I can think of a few countries that could put on that list between Russia and China and
Iran?
Iran. I mean, there's a whole lot of countries out there that park money over here that are not friendly with us. So
No.
yeah, it might not be a
Right
bad
now, we
idea.
have the G7 summit going on right now, and the allies are begging Trump just to please settle down on the tariffs and please just work with us. We love you guys. But there's no Chevys or Fords being sold in Europe.
Yeah, no, no,
Maybe they should start doing that.
yeah. That they love us. Yeah, so they are exactly like the spoiled teenagers.
Exactly.
That people have been calling them for years because they because they've been getting this preferred
Yeah.
position for so long they think they're entitled to it. When the reason that they have this preferred position is because we were helping them rebuild their countries after World
Right.
War II, and we just for some reason never stopped.
Never stop. And how much stuff do you find in Europe? You've been to Europe. I never have been.
Yeah.
But whenever you went to Europe, how many things did you ever find that were made in America?
You know, I saw American brands there a lot, but the funny thing is a lot of the American brands that I saw, were basically just products that were manufactured in China and then sold in Italy under American brands.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see too many Chevrolets or Cadillacs, did
Oh
you?
no, no. But
Or
to
Fords.
be fair, there are a lot of those roads in Italy that it would be kind of tricky to get a Chevy down.
That's true. How about Ford Mustangs or Ford Priuses?
Well, the smaller cars and the compact cars, yeah, those will do just fine. But
Yeah.
but
The whole idea is that Europe is not really bringing American cars over there in a mass factor.
I rented a car. I forget what brand it was, but it was about the size of a smart car. The little smart cars,
Oh, those small
the
ones.
little tiny go karts with an air conditioner. Um,
Yeah, like a
and
Renault or something.
no, I want to say no. I don't know. It was an Italian brand, and it's
Right.
the Italian sport car brand. It's ah, I
Very
forget.
small.
I forget. But that tiny little car, there were roads in there that I could barely get that little subcompact through. Subcompact. There was one. I swear to God, I had to pull in the mirrors to get all the way down through the road.
Wow.
And it
And
was a
so,
road. It was a road that the GPS took me down. It had a street sign on it and speed regulations and everything.
so I guess in Europe, their transportation infrastructure is not the same as America's.
I'm just going to say that there are some countries that plan would work on pretty good. And there's some of them not so much.
And so that being said, I mean, the whole idea here is that they keep charging us so much on our tariffs,
Yeah,
and we're
which is
charging them
ridiculous.
hardly anything.
which is ridiculous because I think our cars are kind of a hard sell over there to begin with.
Right.
So
And they have all this money, but their infrastructure is just not anywhere close to America's.
yeah, so really the thing is that they're basically just kind of spitting in our face,
Yeah.
with these tariffs to begin with, which is you can debate whether or not America was pivotal in winning World War II. I think we were, but people
Oh,
in
yes,
Europe,
we were.
no, people in Europe, have all sorts of reasons why
Really?
we just got in at the end and mopped up, especially the English, which was kind of crazy to me
Oh,
too.
that's crazy. Come on, guys.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean those guys
Come on.
were months away from losing.
Yeah, without Patton and the rest of the crew, y'all ain't got nothing.
Now that I mean
Even
that
Churchill said that.
right, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Eisenhower, yeah,
yeah. You really kind of got to go by what the people during in the moment were saying.
exactly.
But
And I mean, revisionist history is just exactly what the Democrat and liberal propaganda machine is always doing anyway.
it is amazing to me how much like the book 1984 we get every year, and it's all the Democrats. Frank,
Yes.
frankly, we're more. I don't know. I don't know if we're more Orwellian or more. Uh, who's the other guy that? Man, my brain. My literary brain is not is not functioning well right
A
now.
long day.
Oh, it was a long day. I had to drive all the way to Panama City for a half-hour meeting, turn around and come back, and then basically put in a full day of paperwork too. So, ooh,
Yes. But yeah, I mean, I mean, those guys, I mean, I don't really understand what kind of era we're in right now. America is in a very interesting transitional period. We actually have a very safe border now, but it's being held together by a lot of troops on both sides. And now we have a very unsafe rioting crew in California, which I think is interesting because these guys say they want to stay in America, but they burn the American flag. They say they want to love America, but they burn the American flag. They say they want to stay here, but they attack all the rules and laws that make America what it is.
well, I was watching the coverage on that, and one of this thing occurred to me. So let's say that a large group of people, let's say 100,000 people, you know, formed up on the border and marched across, carrying guns, and basically came in and attacked the United States.
What do
Right?
you do?
What do you do? All right, but what you do immediately is call them enemy combatants, right?
No,
How is that any different than what the cartels are doing? Just because they're coming intermingled with with a bunch of people who, I mean, are coming to work. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are coming for to escape their country and come to a better life in America. But that doesn't mean that the guy standing right next to him isn't a criminal that's here to kill people.
exactly. I mean, there are a lot of good people coming over the border, and that is great. There are a lot of bad people coming over the border, and that is bad. And so the bad people are the ones that we're, going after here.
The problem is they're indistinguishable. For the good people and the bad people are indistinguishable.
That's a problem.
I mean, just because someone's got tattoos doesn't mean that that they're a gang member. Just because they lack tattoos doesn't mean they're a good person.
And just because they're tattoo-less or tattoo-free doesn't mean they're not a gang member.
That's what I said.
Well, yes, yeah. And so, the whole idea here is that, if you want to come over the right way
Well,
and do it
well,
correctly.
I mean, I will agree that we need to fix our immigration system, and we
Yeah.
need to get create specific criteria of what you need to do to come over, and that's it. I mean,
It shouldn't take 10 years either.
no, it shouldn't take 10 years. I I think that 5 is appropriate.
Yeah. That's appropriate time frame.
If you're going to come here to be a citizen,
Right.
5 years is a reasonable time period to work through all the crap you're going to have to work through to integrate. And part of that stuff needs to be that you are integrating yourself into society.
A full assimilation, baby. I mean,
Exactly.
you need to learn. I mean, you need to learn that this is the rules, the laws that you live by. I mean, we're not, your other country anymore. Period.
Part of the downfall of the Roman Empire was the fact that they let the Goths move in and in mass, didn't disperse them throughout the empire, let them go in and start setting up their own little enclaves and not assimilate into Roman life.
Right.
So it created tension so that you wound up with an Eastern and a Western Roman Empire.
That's
And
kind of usually England's having right now with the Muslim society, the Muslim
exactly.
community,
Well, that's what Europe is seeing. We're seeing it with the Latin Americans.
right? I mean,
Although
whenever
we are getting our own little enclaves of Islam up in Minnesota.
and Florida as well. I mean, there's actually a few cities over here in my neck of Florida that they're trying to set up as Sharia law cities,
Yeah, good luck with that.
where they actually override the Florida Constitution and the federal Constitution.
Good luck with that.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't work, guys. I mean, Sharia law is evil,
Well, it
first of
doesn't.
all,
It doesn't
and
matter.
it's not the rule of the land.
It doesn't matter. They can proclaim it all they want to. They can drag people into whatever court they want. But the second they drag someone in a court and they don't get the result they're looking for, the cops are just a 911 call away.
Exactly. And it has to be the cops have to have enough integrity and internal fortitude here to go after these people instead of quit worrying about the wokeness and the political correctness stuff and saying, oh, we can't, we can't do anything about it.
No, 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 no. If a Sharia court tries to impose a sanction on you and you don't like it and it's not in compliance with Florida law, you can. It's one phone call and the cops are right there. It's not, oh, we can't get in the middle of it because of this church thing. It is it does not comply with Florida law thing, and you guys can just suck it up.
Exactly. That's what they need to do. I mean, this whole thing that they're trying to do this is totally ridiculous, and hopefully it gets squashed here pretty quick.
Well, it's untenable. I mean, how are you going to, put in? It's not like a. I mean, I guess they could make it an HOA. Maybe that's how they're going to do it. They're going to turn it into an HOA.
Anyway, it's supposed to be in the area around Sanford, Florida, in the land.
Mhm.
I guess right around Seminole County, where old Joel Greenberg is from,
Yeah,
and that region. And so, for anybody who doesn't know who Joel Greenberg was, he was the party wingman for the former Congressman Matt Gaetz. But that's a little footnote there on who he was. He's serving time in prison at the moment. But anyway, but back to back to real news. Of tangent there. But it looks like we have some new polls coming in from Rasmussen today, and Trump is still above 50.
yeah.
He's at 52%.
The one thing that you can count on is that if the media is saying that Donald is losing, you're just 24 hours away from a poll that proves that he's not.
No, exactly. I mean, this stuff in California, he was taking a lot of heat for about sending the Marines and the National Guard. I mean, we haven't had a show since all that happened. So, I mean, he's sending like 4,000 troops and several hundred Marines, and everybody's like, oh, in a panic, martial law and over federalizing this area and everything, blah 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 blah. And the people, people support it overwhelmingly.
They do support it, but interestingly, and this is the thing that they're not talking about, the function that those troops are providing overwhelmingly is administrative. So they're
Exactly.
far. I mean, there's a few on the streets, but far more often than not, they're taking the grunt work away from the cops so the cops can get in the field, so the federal agents can get in the field, and then so
Right.
the LA County sheriffs and the LA police can get in the field.
Yeah, because and I know these protests are going to be going on probably for the entire summertime, and it's popping up in cities now all across the country. It's been in DC. I think they've had protests in New York and so on and so forth everywhere. And I mean, between those protests, the college campus protests, I mean, we have this here country on fire for something that just does not make any sense. I mean, period. I mean, these guys are illegals we're trying to send back. They're criminals.
Well, California is losing money right and left. I mean, there's a giant sucking sound in their budget, and it's has to do directly with those illegals. And while the leadership may not understand it, and may not want to admit to it, the rank and file Californians are 58% of Californians are opposed to the. So so
Exactly.
so that in California these illegal aliens are getting Medicaid.
Yes, and money, like
Well,
two or three thousand a month.
exactly, and it is a huge suck on the California economy, and they're seeing it to the point. This is how bad it is. The California government is ready to stop it. They're ready to
Yes.
turn off the spigot for the adults.
Yeah,
Now they're still going to provide Medicaid for immigrant children regardless because
I agree with it.
well, I don't disagree with it.
They're children.
Let's say, but at the end of the day, you know, get your kids in, get your kids and go home because it's not my job to take care of your folks.
Right. I mean, and that being said, I mean, DeSantis, I will, I'm not really a huge Governor DeSantis fan, but I will say I'm very proud of him for saying we are not going to deal with with that kind of protesting here in Florida whatsoever. That will not happen. And he,
What I liked was when he got on the TV and reminded everyone that we'd passed a law that said if your car is surrounded by protesters and you're in fear for your life, you are free to hit the gas.
you are allowed to run them over,
I
yes,
run right over them.
because they are violating your right of way.
Well, we have enough example. It's not because of the
We have
right of way.
video.
It's not because of right of way. It's
No, you're right. Yeah.
it's because we have enough examples to where these guys have beaten cars to death, broken windows, and dragged people out of their cars, and in some cases, they've certainly seriously injured people. And there have been a couple of cases where people have been beaten to death.
But remember the time in Pensacola where the person did drive through the protester would not let go of the car, and they drove them all the way across the bridge,
All the way
all the
across
way
the
across a 3 mile bridge across Pensacola Bay,
right the
and the
three
person was
mile
just
bridge.
hanging on the car. I'm not letting go.
But
The
and it's just fine because when they got him over to Gulf Breeze, those police officers there were happy to arrest him.
these young white liberals.
Yeah,
It's interesting because it's the Black Lives Matter rally, and
yeah.
there's almost 98% white people, and so it was white liberals just having fun, doing their civil action, jumping on cars while they're driving through a bridge, thinking that the car was going to stop, and it did not, and they were hanging for their dear life while the car was going 25 miles. It's a good video. We should actually just try to find that video and put it on there.
We should I'll say this when Black Lives Matter was first a thing, I remember Al Sharpton was talking about how they were going to come to Penn. So when Black Lives Matter happened, shortly after it became a thing, a young black man was run over by the cops or something like that. He was running from the cops, and they were chasing him. He was on foot. They were chasing him with a car, and they were about to jump out, and the kid tripped and fell under the car, and he got run over. And so Al Sharpton wanted to come to Pensacola and have a protest about that. And his protest was going to be to bring tour buses here and park them in the middle of the 3 Mile Bridge.
Yeah, and he didn't get any support for that either.
Yeah, I wonder why. And I'll tell you, this protester that took the ride across the 3 Mile Bridge is a great illustration of why.
Yeah, in all reality, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, yeah, I'm very sensitive about the issues in the black community. However, the people who are leading that movement took everybody for a very big ride and made billions of dollars and cashed in, bought houses, bought property, and did not help a single family they're supposed to help. They didn't help any of them. And where are they at today?
Good question. I hear a lot about grants from a lot of people, but I've never heard anything about a grant from Black Lives Matter.
No, because
I've heard about Black Lives Matter getting a lot of grants. I
oh,
haven't heard about them giving any.
yeah, they pilfed a lot of people. They took the money and ran.
Uh-huh.
Totally, totally. But and of course they're not. Their credibility is totally shot. I know several civil rights leaders. I'm friends with a lot of people with the Dick Gregory Foundation and the NAACP and the Southern Christian Leadership Association and all those groups, and they are all very good, solid leaders and everything else. And none of them give Black Lives Matter any credibility whatsoever at this moment.
But Black Lives Matter is just an illustration.
It seized it.
Well, all these NGOs that Elon has spent the last few months
Exactly. Yeah.
exposing, they're the exact same thing. They get grants from people that are cash rich, even the government, and then they either keep the money themselves or they are just a straight pass through for someone else. Usually, it's a pass through to the person who approved
Right.
the grant to begin with.
Yeah, and so that being said, it's right now, who's a big group out there supporting these illegal aliens? What's the big organization?
Oh,
Is there one?
there's a bunch of them. There's like half a dozen of them. I can't remember their names, but
But
they're
there's not any one organization that's like a household name though.
well, not over here. There's a lot of that are well known on the West Coast, but
Okay,
but that's only because they have a much frankly they have more government support over there for for these Latino
but they
you know
did.
or they did again I've said for the longest time these guys are overplaying their hand. It was I almost wrecked the truck this morning when I was listening to a report where they were talking Congressman McBride, who is the only trans congressperson, or maybe the first one. I don't know. Maybe there is another one by now. But even Congressman McBride is saying that that the Democratic Party may have overplayed their hand on this trans rights thing.
Maybe.
It's bad when your elected congressional trans person thinks you've overplayed your hand.
Well, they have. That's just a fact.
Well, I've been saying it for years, and the problem is they have themselves so steeped in this stuff they can't walk it back. But I still maintain the reason you keep hearing this ridiculous crap from these people, and the reason the Democrats keep saying these things that they're saying, is because it is still ringing the cash register. Their
It is.
only concern is money, is
All
raising
about
money,
money.
and as long as these talking points are ringing the register, they're going to keep on throwing them out there.
Yeah, they will. The entire idea here is that just to keep funding their pockets and to keep funding. Right now, this economy that we're in, fundraising and podcasts are a huge moneymaker at this moment
Uh-huh.
because nobody else. Everybody's chipping in $5, $10.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the guy who said you don't really had to get thousands of followers anymore. You just had to get a strong community of supporters who will kick in $5 or $10 a week or
Uh-huh.
$5 or $10 a month. And basically, it's the whole Obama theory of fundraising. Basically, you get nickel and dime everybody uh, with very high volumes of numbers of
Uh-huh.
people, and it's better than all your 10 or $15,000 donations. Your big single check guys.
Yeah,
And because I
absolutely.
mean, whenever it's strength in numbers, it really is strength in numbers. And
And,
then that's what they're doing with this whole thing.
and it's not, and I want to reiterate, it's not exclusive to the Democrats.
No, it's not.
All of Washington does it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
including your favorite congressman. I don't care who they are.
all of
Your
them.
favorite congressman does it to a certain extent, and they kind of have to, because if they don't, then leadership starts deranking them off of committees, and eventually they can't raise enough money to even get reelected.
That's actually, I think, where TikTok and a lot of social media comes in because a lot of people don't realize that you have to be 18 to vote, but you don't have to be 18 to donate.
Mhm.
And so you can always just click that donate button. If you got access to a card or a debit card or a credit card of yours, if you have your own account, you can donate at 14, 15 years old.
Yeah,
And that's the thing. You're making money off these tweens and these
right.
people who are very, have very soft brains who have not really formed yet as far as a real thought of really knowing exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're capitalizing off of that and you're exploiting that.
Mhm.
And as a fundraiser, as we both are, that's great for good causes. It's horrible for bad causes, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it just depends on what you consider a good cause, I guess.
That's very subjective there as well. I mean, but the whole thing with the trans movement, I mean, is to get these kids feeling sorry for these people and put everything in such a sympathetic and demoralizing way that they're just hurting this person and causing them to want to commit suicide or do something
Uh,
like that. Otherwise, give them $5 and save their life. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Whatever. Look, these people, they have a psychological condition, and the problem is, and I have no doubt that they have very deep emotional struggles. The problem is that giving them the things that they think they want isn't going to help them. It's not going
no,
to make them happy.
no. I mean, the whole idea that the courts now are agreeing that the government still has to pay for transgenders to have surgery in jail or incarcerated, I think is wrong.
I'm not aware of that still happening, but
Yeah, well, you just got reversed again last week. Some court somewhere else said that the federal government has to pay for it now.
I'm sure it'll get appealed on up the ladder.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will. I don't know if the Supreme Court ruled on that or not. Or somebody said it came from the Supreme Court. I haven't done any double checking on that yet. I don't think
I
it
haven't
did.
seen anything about that ruling, but there's a lot of rulings that happen that the fact of the matter is with the Supreme Court, people keep talking about the Supreme Court like it's the most divided court in history, but the fact of the matter is that the overwhelming majority, and I mean
I
like
know.
well over 90% of the decisions that come from the Supreme Court are 9-0.
Exactly unanimous.
Yeah,
That's not divided, guys.
that's not divided.
For all you people who want to redefine everything.
Yeah, occasionally they have something that's split down ideological lines,
Right.
but but that's just occasionally.
But the other,
It's not always.
yeah, I mean, the other real ideology here with the Supreme Court is with abortion, really. I mean, and you take out the abortion issue, the Supreme Court is a wild card, really.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, guns, wild card, freedom of speech, wild card.
They've gone a couple of different ways. Well, the thing, and honestly, I think that we're going to start getting. I don't know. I think a lot of the gun stuff is going to start going away because most of that stuff can just be fixed with rulemaking and a couple of statutes,
Yeah,
and
and
it's
also
over.
Democrats are coming on board with the gun issues anyway. I mean, more and more Democrats every day are becoming pro-gun and pro-safety.
You mean when their people start shooting their people,
Oh
kind of?
yeah, exactly. They want to be safe.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
because
when Rosie O'Donnell was against everybody having guns by herself,
uh,
and yeah, that didn't go over too good for her. Nor does it go over too good for any of the Democrats who are hypocritically doing all this.
I think it's hysterical that Chuck Schumer got in front of a camera with a straight face and said, "Hey guys, we need to dial the temperature down. All this political violence, I don't know where it's coming from." Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, I almost spit my drink out when he said
yeah,
that.
exactly. Then we watch videos of him telling everybody to, get in their face, and we're gonna come after you, and we're gonna hurt you.
Yeah,
He just
anyone,
he's already attacking Supreme Court judges,
yeah,
and telling
anyone,
people where they live.
anyone that's unclear on what gaslighting is, that's it. That
As
is
definitely yes.
that is exactly what gaslighting is. You amp people up, amp, 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 and then
Alphonse
I don't know why you're so upset.
yeah, why?
I don't know. It
I mean,
could be.
82 years old. You gotta give the 82-year-old guy some Saturday credit, though. I mean, he still has it going there, where he's crafty enough to keep it going without laughing off totally.
He's crafty enough to make to keep making money. That's it.
You think he's
And
gonna win a re-election?
probably,
It's AOC.
probably.
I wonder if she has to resign to run for the seat in New York. That'd be interesting to find out.
Wait. What are you talking about?
AOC running for she's a congresswoman. AOC
I
running
know she's a
against
congresswoman, Greg.
Schumer. Yeah, I'm sorry. Running against a lot of other people went on it, but Schumer, the New York guy for Senate, she's going to run against him
I
in
didn't hear
theory.
that. I didn't hear that. I heard she was going to run for president, but
Well, I think she's going to run for him first and then president later. I don't think she can
boy,
make president now.
well, if there was a chance in hell of her winning the presidency, I would say that's a bad move. But since there's no chance of her doing either one of them, then
Yeah, I don't agree.
it's. But I don't know that. Yeah, that's a very good question. Do you have to resign to run
New
uh,
York.
in New York?
Yeah, because I mean it's different. For people who don't know, every single state has their own different set of laws, how they handle elections, how they handle campaigns. Florida, you didn't used to have to resign to run for some seats and not other seats. Now it's still the same way. Some seats, it really just depends on what the governor says at the moment and what his legislature votes on. Because here, some seats you have to resign to run, and some seats you don't in Florida, and we really don't have a clear idea of which one it is all the time because it changes from year to year. And so I mean a lot of states are like that.
There is no New York law or federal law that says you have to resign to run for House to run for Senate.
Okay, so she could probably run for Senate and raise some money, and while she's like, doing some exploratory, then she might just drop the Senate race and run for president if she's stupid. Or she just, I run for Senate for 4 years, then run for president in 4 years.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember.
She's still very young.
She is. So wasn't her boyfriend or something like that when she first ran? He was like a fundraiser for Bernie or something like that. Am I right about that? Am I remembering that
I think
correctly?
he was. I think he's her husband now.
No,
But yeah,
she's engaged, but she's
was she
not.
still engaged?
Yeah,
I think he's still the same guy though. He got a lot of PAC trouble. He got a lot of trouble here for fundraising illegally or doing some sort of PAC issue or something where the paperwork wasn't done properly with all the
well,
money that they raised. I don't know.
I don't.
The PAC stuff is very confusing for a lot of people. It's very tricky.
I don't remember. I just remember some. I don't know. I remember she had a fundraising history.
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
But at the end of the day, that again, it's the same old thing. She's if you think you can make money running for Congress, run for president one time. The higher the office, the more money you can raise. And she already comes at things with a fundraiser's kind of tact, because
Exactly.
she was a bartender before she was this, but before she ran for Congress, but she was also a fundraiser. She was throwing fundraisers, and that's
She's
how
also a lawyer.
she's not a lawyer. She has a degree.
Yeah, she's
She
a
has a,
lawyer.
no, she's not. She's got a degree in economics.
But she says she has a degree in law now.
That I don't know.
Well, that's a big rumor out there. She's a lawyer also. She's never practiced law. Kind of like Matt Gates. Just go ahead and verify that
I
real
gotta look
quick.
that part. No, she didn't have a law degree.
She
She has
doesn't
a
have a
BA.
lot.
She has a BA in international relations and economics. She thinks she's a lawyer.
Yeah, well, she's a lawmaker.
Yeah. Although I got to be honest with all the lawyers that I know, claiming you're a lawyer isn't any kind of a special anything.
Uh, Tell me about it, man. You and
Uh,
I have walked circles around lawyers so
well,
much.
I mean, within certain things. I mean, certainly
Election law, yeah.
within election law. I mean, the number of times that you and I have both, had to correct election professionals, and by that I mean like supervisors of elections. I remember being at a dang
Yeah,
public meet. I was at some kind of public event. I think it was some kind of a Gulf Coast Patriots or something like that.
exactly.
Man,
Steve Lillo's house, or his restaurant.
yeah,
Lillo's
over
restaurant.
at Steve Lillo's restaurant, and it was getting to be election time, and as a guest speaker, they had the supervisor of elections, over there, and the supervisor, they asked the supervisor a question about some election thing. I think it was like when absentees went out or something like
Exactly,
that,
yeah.
and she looked at me and says, uh, I don't know, Scott. When does that happen?
Exactly.
I mean, and I don't fault her for it. I mean, it's not that she's not competent. She's a good supervisor, but I mean, it's just one of those things
Yeah.
where we do these things so often and for so long that. Yeah, you remember that? You remember that lawyer that was so he was working with a county commissioner candidate, and
Oh,
that
yeah,
and they had a pact.
he thought the PAC was the same thing as a C4, to where people who don't know, 501c4s can be anonymous donations, and you can keep all your donors anonymous, and these people thought they were.
Well,
However,
his problem, the people that he outed didn't know the law because they've been
exactly.
working on it for a long time. This lawyer, this Harvard lawyer, you know, not only did he not know the law, but when the press called to say, to ask him, hey, what's the deal with this pack? He not only he disclosed the names of everyone that had donated to the pack, and he said that this pack is here just to
Public.
just to support this candidate. I'm like, what are you doing?
Not realizing that PAC laws supporting candidates can only do so much donations for the campaign directly, and they can't directly help the candidate.
They were this same lawyer, this same Harvard lawyer, um, was at a fundraiser for the candidate. And him and the candidate are going, oh, well, if you've already maxed out to the candidate, you can give an unlimited amount over to this guy over here because he's running the pack. I'm like, I'm
Yes,
like having a heart attack. These guys are saying that. I'm like, you can't
exactly.
coordinate with your pack.
No, exactly. And the whole thing here is that, I mean, the whole idea that the unlimited amounts, the anonymous amounts, those are for ECOs and C4s
Mm.
and 527s that are specifically created as 501c4s. And so, which are basically an NGO almost. And
Well,
so, in some sort of manner.
around here, you and I are basically the only ones that know how to operate C4s.
Exactly. I mean, and people are like, "What's it back? It's a committee." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It isn't."
Yeah,
C4s can coordinate with candidates, but they
absolutely.
have to do it in a very specific manner, and it has to be only in messaging, and that is it.
Well, it just has to be messaging
Fact.
that supports an issue, and if you mention the
Exactly.
candidate, you can say the
The candidate supports the issue.
Yeah, you can say the candidate supports an issue, and that we agree with this candidate for the way they support. You can even hire the candidate to be a
Your
front man for your
spokesperson.
issue, a
That's what
spokesperson.
Rubio did. Rubio C4 and his committee had him as his spokesperson. Everything else. And that's how he raised money for that committee legally.
Uh-huh.
That's how you. But it's not a pack. And
It's
people
not
just
a
throw
pack.
the word around pack as a
Yeah,
slang.
yeah,
Like
it is
everything's a
not.
pack. Everything's a pack.
No.
Everything is not a pack. There's CCEs, there's ECOs, there's PACs. I mean, there's all kinds of wonderful acronyms. But
Uh-huh.
the thing is, in order to do it correctly, and with this guy, the donors, because the challenger is running against a very vindictive
Oh yeah.
incumbent, and so they wanted their donations to be anonymous.
Uh-huh.
However, they were not. He disclosed them. Then he actually filed the paperwork for a public PAC. It wasn't even, which was filed with the county of Escambia County. It wasn't even filed properly as a discrete C4 through the IRS.
No,
Wasn't,
they didn't set it up. I mean, there's all kind of stuff. I mean, it was
I mean, that
ridiculous.
happens all the time.
Yeah, and the fact that this guy had a law degree from Harvard. Actually, what his law degree from Harvard told me was I was wasting my breath talking to him
Exactly.
because he's from Harvard, so he
Yeah, you
knows
and I,
everything.
you and I went into the office and we saw that plaque up there. We're like, why are we
Waste
even
of breath.
here?
Waste of breath.
Let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
And actually, he didn't even show up for the
No.
meeting.
No.
I mean, he's too busy washing his boat or something like that.
Uh,
So Harvard lawyer thing to do, I guess.
yeah. Whatever.
You have to be a college graduate to know the law, okay, guys.
No.
You have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
experienced enough and you've been bitten enough times to know what the bite looks like when it's coming.
Exactly. Exactly. There's. I always use this example of, if you're standing in the lobby of a building and you need to go to the bathroom, are you going to talk to the guy that looks like the CEO? You're going to talk to the guy that looks like the fireman, or you're going to talk to the guy that looks like the janitor? Because I'm pretty sure the janitor knows where the can is.
Exactly.
I mean, you just got to go to the right place with Actually, the thing that it reminds me of the most is, several years ago, Bobby Flay had a show on the Food Network where he would make some random chef's signature dish. I mean, he's a Michelin starred chef, and what he would do is he would go to just these regular diners or restaurants where someone was just a guy off the street that had this one dish that they had perfected, and that's just their
Right.
signature item. And he challenged them to see if he, as a Michelin starred chef, could do a better job than they did. And occasionally he did, but far more often than not, he didn't.
Right.
Because these guys, when you do one thing and do it all the time, you know, you kind of get a feel for it.
Yeah, exactly. And it just doesn't make any sense whenever people always bring in these wonderful guys with, they got a lot of acronyms behind them, legal acronyms or economic acronyms or whatever they want to call by them and say, oh, these are the experts, the out of town experts who will charge you 100% times what they're worth just because they're from out of town. And once they take the money, they'll leave it and go out of town again.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, enough of those pointing out the factors of the wonderful political elite out there.
Yeah, I don't even know how we got into all that, but
Yeah, I know how we got down that so far.
down that rabbit hole.
But I know the Attorney General of Florida is causing some trouble. He's challenging judges on things and saying that the judges are wrong, that he's right. You know, granted, I'd probably if it was Pam Bondi or regular Attorney General, I might side with him. But Meyer, come
Well, I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about, to be honest with you. But I do know that judges, you know, you know, you know, whoever you are, if you are allowed to just, unabated do whatever you want to do, then eventually it kind of goes to your head.
it does.
It's like that judge up in Wisconsin who thought for some reason that the law doesn't apply to her and she can interfere in federal investigations, just because she's a judge.
Right. I think these have to do with the Attorney General wants to enforce immigration laws here in Florida and comply with ICE and everything. The judge here is saying that he can't do that. So he threatened the judge and said, "You can arrest me if you want to, but we're going to do it this way." Which, that's great.
The judge, I mean, unless there's unless it's, I don't even, actually, I'm not sure how the judge would,
Yeah,
unless the judge has a case going with him, instruct, where the decision of the case is, that if the case goes this way, they have to do this thing.
right.
I don't know how the judge is going to arrest him.
I don't know. It's just, Florida politics is very entertaining right now. We have
Uh, it's all like that. Yeah, I got a pet peeve about people thinking that their politics is particularly corrupt or
right.
particularly bad. Things are particularly bad. It's just me, but right here, you're lucky you don't live where I live because here it's really bad.
You've
It's
been
like
told
that
that a
everywhere.
lot. It's no worse than it is in Escambia County
Escambia
until you
County
get
is
to
no worse
Ramsey
than
County,
Miami-Dade, than
until you get to
Seminole,
Miami.
than Jackson, and whatever. They're all the difference is that we, or you, whoever you happen to be, you are closer to the problem and you get to see it every day. So in your
Exactly.
mind, it's this how things are. Trust me, you're not alone. It's like that everywhere.
It's just as bad in the middle of Arkansas as it is in the middle of Florida or Missouri or California.
Yeah.
Everything, all politics are local. They
Mhm.
really are. And yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess out there all around. And hopefully we'll get 430 new congressmen one day.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
That'd be great. I think we're going to go ahead and call it a day here, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've been down as many rabbit holes as we can tolerate.
I'm sure there's more rabbit holes we can find, but I don't think the listeners would want to deal with that anymore.
All right. So so make sure you like and subscribe if you want to keep on getting our content, and hopefully we'll see you guys next weekend.
Have a good day.